Today we're going to be going on in our 7 churches of Asia, and we're now to the church in Pergemum, which is Revelations 2:12. Revelation. There's no S on it. Now, the last one in Smyrna was a warning, not a chastisement. Now we're getting to another congregation that has problems. And to the angel of the church in Pergamum write, the words of him who has the sharp two-edged sword. All of these letters are started with some of the pictures of Jesus that were given in the beginning. And these pictures of Jesus sort of help you understand the tone of what's going to be said. When you hear the words of him who has the sharp two-edged sword, which was coming out of his mouth, you know it's not going to be good. You know that they're going to be chastised. But even in these letters in the book of Revelation, Jesus did what he always did and what those who wrote the scriptures did. Before you start to correct, you must always appreciate where they are. You must always give credit for where they are, even if they're way down there. There's almost always something you can find to give them credit. If you don't do that, you just break down. But if you say, well, you've done this, but now here you need to do better, that's much better than clean that up. I know where you dwell, where Satan's throne is. That's an important thing for Jesus to tell them. I know where you dwell. Because sometimes we get feeling that God doesn't know anything about us. Now, he started this off with saying he's in the middle of the churches. He's there. But he goes, I know where you dwell. You're not alone. I understand what you're going through. Where you live is where Satan's throne is. We could say that was Las Vegas. We could say it's San Francisco. We could say it's Sugarville. We could say almost anywhere. The thing is there are many places where Satan has taken over the majority of the town. A lot of places, they're in Satan's pocket, but they're not working for him, if you know what I mean. There are a lot of people who are just sitting on the sidelines. Well, that means you're on his team, but you're not actively involved in the fight of evil against good. And I like saying it that way better than good against evil, because good is there first, good is there in the middle, good is at the end, and evil is the usurper trying to take over. So it's a fight of evil against good, because good is the one that stands. Yet you hold fast to my name, and you did not deny my faith even in the days of Antipas, my faithful witness, who was killed among you, where Satan dwells. That can be a hard thing, but you held fast. It would have been easy when Antipas was martyred for you to say, let's go hide. Let's deny Jesus. But they didn't. They stayed firm. love verse 14. It's repeated several times, but it shows an understanding of human beings more than the way we usually reprimand and criticize. But I have a few things against you. How many times when you have something against somebody and you're going to try to correct them, do you pull out a list about 17 miles long? He starts off with saying, you did good. You did good. You hung in there when many would not. You, as a congregation, stayed firm. But there's a few things you've got to get right. And that's what some people don't get out of the letters to the 7 churches. They're not an outright condemnation. They are, get right, church. There's some things that you need to get better at. You have some there who hold the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the sons of Israel. If you haven't read it in the last couple of years, go back to Numbers 22 and read the entire story of Balaam. Read about when they wanted him to curse him. Read about the donkey. And then skip forward and find out what happened at Peor, which is where this stumbling block came. But Balaam was a prophet of God. When you read the story, God talked to him. He was God's man, even though he wasn't a Jew. When he was in a foreign place, God has always put people there to keep his truth. But, as I said, Balaam was a weasel. Just because God talked to you, just because you know the scriptures, just because doesn't mean you're always going to behave honorably. He liked his people because Balak was his king of his people. He doesn't know these wanderers from Egypt. And he likes money. So what he did is he convinced them that it was okay to combine worship of the Lord God with worship of the Baal. That it was okay, and they fell for it. He may have said, well, I'm of this people. I live with them. That's the God of this land. God still talks to me, so it's okay. Who knows what he said, but people still today convince Christians that they can partake of things that they shouldn't. Now, it says that they might eat food sacrificed to idols and practice sexual immorality. I want to throw a little thing in here. You noticed at the Jerusalem conference, the elders at Jerusalem said, don't eat food sacrificed to idols. Here you find it a couple of times there. But Paul says it's okay. Well, there's a reason, and I think it's really important because it helps us to do some thinking. Eating meat that was sacrificed to idols could happen in 2 ways. One is they had the big sacrifice at the idol's temple. They sacrificed it, and then they had the big meal. And that was part of the worship of the idol. When Paul was talking, he talked about buy anything you want at the marketplace. Because what had happened is they were sacrificing more than they could eat. So Let's make a little bit of shekels for